Welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something. I'm your host, Seth Hoffman. Today our guests are Ramona Snow Teo, artist, graphic designer, and Jay Steinberg, owner of Birdland Hippie Store, aka Birdman. Let's get into it and have a good time. Well, here we are. I don't know if anybody noticed, but there is a new logo that I'm really very happy with, and I am so honored to be here with Ramona, the creator of this logo and so many other logos that you probably know. Ramona, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Seth, for having me here today.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm an artist and a graphic designer, and I create all kinds of different things and work with a lot of different people in the community. And I'm so blessed to be able to follow my passion and what I'm good at, creating art and making things beautiful, to brighten up our world a little bit.
Yes.
And to work with a lot of other local businesses and creators to help them create a nice presentation for their projects, like your logo here.
Yeah, yeah. And so the art of creating a logo, it's a very special type of art creation, of course, because it's something that, you want it to be simple yet get the point across. What are some things that go into your mind or your thought process when you're creating a logo?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. As an artist, sometimes it's tempting for me to get into like a lot of detail and colors and put a lot of different things in. And also a lot of times for the clients, they have all these grand ideas and they want to put it all in the logo. And it's always a practice of like pulling back and simplifying, because you want a logo that's going to be memorable and be simple enough. And a lot of times a logo gets scaled down to the size of like a little graphic on a pen or something. And so it's hard to see when it's got a lot going on. And so it's a practice of how do we fit all the ideas in that represent the business and fit it into a concise piece of art. And on the screen they're showing some other logos that I've done for a lot of people in the community and people all over the world. I've worked with a lot of bands, a lot of restaurants, a lot of local businesses creating their logos.
And can you recall your very first logo that you created?
I think, gosh, I don't know. That was...
Or one of the first.
I started creating logos in 2008. I think people just started coming to me because I was an artist, and they're like, hey, can you make a logo for me? And it was not something that I had ever done before, but I was like, okay, sure.
And then after all, hey, I'm a logo maker.
Yeah, that was around 2008. And I started making more and more of them. And now I've got over 500 clients that I've worked with.
Incredible.
I've done logos. I've done a lot of packaging design, label design, covers for albums, music albums, covers for books. I've illustrated a couple books in the last year. So I've been really busy, and it's been a project over the last decade or so of seeing if I could survive by being being a full-time artist. It was sort of a test. I'm like, can I really do this? Can I just drop the 9-to-5 job and work full-time creating art and doing graphic design? And it was a real test. And over the years, I've proved that yes, I can be a full-time artist. I have a lot of different things going on. I'm a little scattered. I have a lot of different revenue streams and projects and stuff going on, and I have to manage all of it myself, so it can be a little bit crazy and definitely its own challenge. But in the end, I've been able to do it. I'm really grateful for that I get to do things that I love and create beautiful work that supports other people's businesses. And now I'm at the point where I've been like, okay, I can survive, but can I thrive? And so that's what I'm moving into and stepping into now, is like really taking it to the next level, and for myself and also helping people in the community like help their business thrive by creating really beautiful branding for them.
And so just to take us back before you were full-time, because I know there's a lot of people who probably been in that situation where like, I really, you know, art or whatever, music or, you know, whatever it happens to be their passion, but think, oh, could I do this? Could I really sustain myself? Can you take us to that point in your life just to, so what were you doing before you were full-time? What was your life consisting of? What was your, you know, job, or I don't know?
Yeah, well, I've always been in the creative. I ran a t-shirt shop with my dad for 10 years called Guerrilla Graphics. A lot of people in Albuquerque know it, and we ran that for 10 years. So even then, I was an artist and entrepreneur, but I was working in a certain framework of working for that company. And around 2015, when I got pregnant with my daughter, is when I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna step back and just do completely my own thing, just do my own art, and be a freelance graphic designer. And so I think it was something that I kind of moved slowly into. It wasn't like it switched overnight, because I was already doing some logo design when I was working with Guerrilla Graphics. Yeah. And so it was like a slow transition. So I would say if you were working with a 9-to-5 that you're not really crazy about, and you have some creative calling that you want to do, just start a little, like doing it on the nights, doing it on the weekends, doing it a little bit, and building up your skills and your portfolio and your connections, whatever that kind of creative path might be for you. And so start building it so that you're not just like jumping into where you have no experience. So you want to start building up some experience first and some connections, and then the transition can be a little more graceful.
And did you always know you had this talent? Like when, you know, from being a kid, some people, oh, I'm good at some art, but did you know that, because you have a very special talent, did you know, how long did it take before you're like, no, there's really something here that I can, you know, make a life out of?
Yeah, so I want to talk about one of the core themes in my art, which you'll see here in the images, and that's the mandala. Yes. So that's been a big core part of my journey, is the mandala work. And mandala is an ancient Sanskrit word which means sacred circle. And you'll see sacred circle artwork throughout all histories, all religions, throughout all of time, everywhere. And you also see it throughout nature. And so there are all these different depictions of the circle. And backing up to a little bit of my story, is that I was in high school here in Albuquerque, and I had a high school geometry teacher who gave us an assignment when I was in school to use geometric principles to create these works of art. We had a packet we had to do. We had to submit like 10 pieces of art, but they were all made using these geometric equations and protractor and compass and these tools. And something clicked in my brain when I did that project. It just like lit up. I was like, wow, I really love the math aspect of it, but how it could translate into something so beautiful. And I was like, wow, how did I not know this? This is incredible that like math and nature comes together and it creates beauty. And so I started creating mandalas on my own after that. I traveled, after I finished high school, I traveled to Malaysia, which is where my mother's family is from, and I spent 3 months there. And I was living part-time with my grandparents, who didn't speak a lot of English, and they were out in the countryside. And I actually went inward a lot during that time, because there was the language barrier.
At that time?
I guess I was 17. Okay. Yeah, I think I was 17. And because there was that language barrier and it was hard to communicate with my grandparents, I wanted to find a way to communicate my love to my grandfather and everybody there. But in this one instance, I was thinking about my grandfather. How can I communicate my love for him? And I thought, I'm going to make a mandala piece that is just the essence and the energy of my grandfather and my love for him and my appreciation for him. And so I just channeled all that into one mandala piece, and I gifted it to him. And then after that, I was like, oh, let me do one for grandma. Let me do one for my uncle. And started doing a lot of different mandala pieces. And I was realizing I could have a focus and an intention and put it into a piece of art and then hang it up, and it would radiate the energy of the love for that person.
Yeah, incredible. And so, what, can you describe what those mandala, those early ones were like that for your grandfather and grandmother?
Very geometric. I was using a compass. I was doing ink outlines and then coloring in with colored pencil.
And was it about this size or a larger
That was
scale?
a big one. It was a really big one, and it was ink and colored pencil. And then I did some smaller ones for some other family. So when I came back to the US after that trip, I stumbled across this really cool book by Judith Cornell. I think it's called Mandalas, something, I'm spacing the name right now. Healing with Mandalas, something like that. And it was a step-by-step process of how to do what I had already been doing. I thought that I invented it, but apparently a lot of people have come up with this concept of like meditating and coming into a prayerful space and then bringing forth an intentional piece of art that carries the energy and essence of whatever the focus could be. It could be a specific person, it could be an idea like world peace or healing for the whales or whatever it is that you want to focus your energy on. You could put it all into one piece of art and it becomes like a powerful piece.
Yeah. And were you, when you were a child, was spirituality or religion or was that a part of your life, or this you kind of came to more
I would say like I didn't have a religious upbringing at all. There was some spirituality. My mom talked to me a lot about the power of prayer, and that was a guiding piece. And one funny little anecdote is that I got into some trouble as a teenager, and when I got grounded, my mom and my stepdad would make me read books from their shelf. They had a shelf with spiritual books, and I had to read those.
These are your punishments.
As my punishment, which was like such a cool trick because it turned out to like really influence me. Yeah, I read Illusions by Richard Bach. I think that was really influential, and the Celestine Prophecy, and a bunch of spiritual books that really lit up my world. So
incredible.
Yeah,
incredible. And so, as a child, was art something you were always drawn to? It was just something.
I was always.
Did you have I don't know, was someone any artists in the family, or is people encouraging you, or just something you naturally gravitated to?
Yeah. Let's see. My family was all creative and entrepreneurs. My stepdad is a musician. Music was more of a thing in my family than visual arts, I would say.
And you play some music as well?
I've been dabbling. I'm a real novice, but I have been playing with guitar and singing this past handful of years. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And how old is your daughter?
So my daughter Zena, she is 9, and my son Raphael is 8.
And and do you see some? I imagine they're surrounded by art.
So creative. Yeah, they're both really creative. Right now, my son is in a time frame where he's all about origami. He's making a lot of origami.
Very cool.
And my daughter is really into Greek mythology right now. So I'm just encouraging their passions, which is what my family did. They encouraged my passions.
Yes.
And that's what I would encourage everyone to do for their kids.
Yes, well, they're seeing a good example.
Yeah.
One of your qualities that you have, in addition to being an artist, which I think enables you to be, as successful as you are, is how well you work with people. My experience working with you, it was just very relaxed. You were very responsive to what I was looking for. There was never any sort of pressure. It was just you just kind of created the space and then sort of worked your magic, and you were very responsive and just very, just dependable. Is this something throughout your art career as a business? Was this something that you kind of fine-tuned at how well you work with people, or is that just came easy to you?
I would say both. I would say it is kind of innate to me to be like a good communicator and try to work well with people. And then it's also a skill that I've honed over the years. One thing that's really tricky when you're an artist for hire is, the communication is the biggest thing. And one thing is, it's easy to get offended. Like if you submit something and then your client doesn't like it, it's really easy to take it personally. And so that's something that I've really worked on, clearing that and getting rid of that, because it's just not, you got to take the ego out. It's just not helpful at all for the process. And so I've really learned how to take myself out of it and just show the client. If they like it, great. If they don't like it, okay, put it aside and let's keep going with some more.
Because that's
options.
an incredible talent,
It's tricky.
gift in itself. Because I remember when we would go back and forth, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, well, can you do this? Because I was like, anytime she's gonna respond, be like, make up your mind. But you were always just so.
I was telling
like,
another client recently who's very particular about what she wants. She's like, is this hard for you? I was like, if I got like offended every time a client didn't like what I did, I would be an emotional mess.
Right. I mean, because there's a lot of great artists, but not many that can say they've worked with 500 plus clients in a positive way. Tell us a little bit about the young entrepreneur market.
Okay.
I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this is really separate from the artwork. I mean, it's connected, but it's a separate thing. It's not my artistry. But I've started working with a program this past year. It's called the Children's Entrepreneur Market. It's a nationwide program, and they've been expanding into every state in the last couple of years. And so they were looking for somebody to manage it in Albuquerque, and I felt like that was a perfect opportunity for me, so I jumped on it. And so I'm managing the Children's Entrepreneur Market now, which is a program. It's like a pop-up farmers market or artisan market where all the vendors are kids. Yeah. And we have a pretty large market. It's about 50 vendors, all kids. And so this is teaching kids skills of financial literacy and confidence and networking with the community and product development and all the different skills that are involved in being a small business owner. And so I think this is really important for our next generation to give them the opportunity to try it in sort of a playful situation, how to be an entrepreneur, and give them the tools so that as they grow up, they can take our place and be the ones that are the artists, the musicians, the bakery shop owner, the shop owner, whatever. Yeah,
because I think I know when we grew up, it's like if you're an entrepreneur, that's sort of the opposite of artist and creativity, but really they do.
It works together, yeah. We have a little video clip of the children's market.
And you want to set it up or tell us a little bit about what we're going to be seeing?
It's just a short clip so you guys can see what the children's entrepreneur market looks like. Yeah.
All right, let's check it out.
Welcome to the Children's Entrepreneur Market. Here you'll find a safe and supportive environment where kids can gain real-world experience in business. They'll learn about creating or procuring goods, pricing, attracting customers, and exchanging money. Kids can sell anything. It can be homemade, store-bought, food, games, or services. Our markets prioritize the importance of letting children take the lead, so parents get to sit back and watch their kids run the show. Children must be able to take orders, prep and serve food, answer questions, and handle money all on their own. Watch your child's confidence soar as they learn essential life skills like critical thinking, adaptability, and leadership. Registering your entrepreneur is easy. Just go to children'sentrepreneurmarket.com. See you at the market.
Very cool. Very cool. So how often and where does this happen?
Yeah, so it's such an amazing program. It's just heartwarming to see these kids doing what they do. And we have 4 markets. We just launched a couple days ago. So right now it's beginning of March, and I've got an event, one in April, one in May, one in June, and one in July. And then we'll be announcing another set for the fall winter season. So you can check those out at children'sentrepreneurmarket.com and sign up.
Where do they take place?
So what we do is we partner with large events that are already happening, and it's got dual purpose. One is that it helps the other event to have something really cool and exciting going on. And for us, for our kids, it helps them to have a built-in stream of traffic because we want them to have a successful day. We want them to sell lots of things and talk to lots of people. Yeah. We don't want it to be a dud and then they're like, oh, I never want to do this again. So we want to encourage their success. So we work with events that are already happening. Nice. So our first event in April is going to be the Earth Day Festival at the Balloon Fiesta Park.
Oh, great.
And then in May, we're working with Expo New Mexico Flea Market, and there's going to be a children's market at the flea market at the State Fairgrounds. In June, we're going to be doing Tasty Tuesday, which is a food truck event at Hyder Park in the evening. And then our last event scheduled now is in July. That's going to be the Jump Into School Bash, which is an event before school starts again, where they'll be giving away 3,000 backpacks to kids filled with school supplies. They're giving haircuts and manicures and all sorts of free stuff for the kids so that they can be ready for the new school season. And so we've been invited to join them at their event and pop up our children's market.
And what's the age for the kids? Like, what's the youngest
It's
kids can be
age
in?
5 to 17. Like it said in the video, as long as the kids are able to really do it on their own, for the most part, they can do it.
Yeah.
The parents will just be sitting in the background overseeing it, but we encourage the parents to really stay hands-off so that the kids can gain the full experience of what it's like.
Have your kids been interested and involved in it?
Yeah, my kids have done all the markets so far.
Wow.
And my daughter's making lip balms. My son is making candles and origami.
Incredible.
And there's been some really cute instances of them, in real time, me seeing them learning financial lessons that, for example, the first market, my daughter, she made a bunch of money at the market, and then she went around and spent it all on the other booths. And by the end of it, we were like in the negative. Like her brother didn't have the money that he was supposed to have made because she spent it all. And so that was adorable and a really good lesson, good lesson in financial literacy. So be careful with the money that you make and not spending it right away.
Right. So Ramona, many people know you as an artist, creator. What's something we don't know about you? What's something that you, when you're not creating, when you're in your downtime or your fun time or your leisure time, or is this all 24/7 when you're not sleeping? What are some other things that, I don't know, feed you or fill your heart or just give you joy?
Gosh, that's a tricky question.
You don't even have to answer it if nothing comes to mind. I don't put you on the spot.
Yeah, I really love to dance. Yeah, and like you mentioned, I play music, which is kind of a little secret thing because I feel like I'm surrounded by a lot of amazing musicians, and I feel like I'm not that good, so I don't show it off that much. But it's something that really fills my soul with joy to sing and make music, even though I'm not very good at it. I'm better at visual arts.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for doing what fills your heart, and some people only stick to what they know they're good at, and they don't even dare dabble in something that's out of their comfort zone. But I think that's very inspiring, and I think it will bring out one for your kids to see that you do what fills your heart. Before we go, is there any words of wisdom someone shared with you in your life, or some advice that you got at some point that you carry with you, or wisdom of your own that you could end our segment with?
There's a saying that always repeats. I don't remember where I heard it, but it's every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. So if you're not happy with where you're at any moment, every moment is another chance. So, and you're given infinite chances. So at any point, take that leap and go in the direction that your heart's calling.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you. You are an inspiration and a gift to so many communities out there who you have blessed with logos and your art. And please check out her website. And it's just wishing you continued blessings on all you are doing, and to your family. And may all that you manifest come. And it's just a pleasure and honor to have you.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Today. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Got it. All right, we are here with the Birdman himself, Jay Steinberg. Jay, it is a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about your history, where you come from, and what you're doing.
Well, first of all, Seth, thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So it's a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, where it started for this was early in high school. I grew up in the 70s, and music was very important. And I got to where I wanted my life to be involved around the music, but I'm not talented enough to to be that musician.
Yes.
So I got close to him and found things that I could do that might help me be part of a community that's been very important to me all my life.
Yes.
More than my business has been the music scene.
And tell us a little bit of where did you grow up, and when
Well,
did you first get into music, and what was your first exciting
Well,
times with
I
music?
have older brother and cousins, and they were always an influence on me. So musically, I was hearing what was important to them in the 60s and the very late 60s.
Yes.
And of course, I consider it to be one of the most fantastic eras of
I
music
think
that there ever
I
was.
and many would agree with you on that.
Then my mother moved us to Nashville, Tennessee. And it was an absolutely wonderful time of my life. I got to be sort of there when it was a small city and musicians were just there. You know, it was like you became friends with them maybe even before they hit it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something that I always enjoyed about Nashville, always being able to go to a small venue
Yeah.
and see somebody that just was musical history
Yeah.
within 5 feet of you.
Incredible.
For me, that was John Hartford and John Prine, you know, Leon Russell. These were people who played in small little places in Nashville, and I got to see them, you know.
And because a lot of people would see them, but they're like, I can't go chat with them, or I can't go talk with them. Has that always been your nature to? I mean, you're not a shy man.
No, I'm not shy. No, I always talk to them, and they were always very kind. And you know, what were we talking about? What a great show it was. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But for me, later, my cousin lived in a small little apartment, and his upstairs neighbor was Steve Earle.
Wow.
And I got to know Steve along with my brother and my cousin. I got to sit on the floor in his room and listen to Guitar Town before he even put it out. So I've been a Steve Earle fan
Yeah.
for coming on 40 years now.
Yes.
If Steve does come through our area, he does put me on his guest list.
Great.
I'm
I hope so.
not his best friend, but we're old friends.
That's
you
a
know.
special thing. I mean,
Yes.
to have such history.
Well, he
like
once
that.
told me, he says, you know, I've known you longer than I knew Chris Christopherson. So,
You should tell people that, like, oh, that's a special thing to say.
yes, it was very nice.
So you have a history of this connection with music, and it definitely ties in with our incredible music scene here in Albuquerque. Tell us a little bit, because the music scene, of course, is the musicians, but I think many musicians would agree that the people who are there supporting the music are as much part of the music scene as the people on stage. It's like this, you know, this back and forth. Tell us a little bit just about your thoughts and.
Well, you know,
about
first
that.
of all, with the electronic age, the ability to get music out there to the masses has become much easier.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get people to want to come to Albuquerque to play,
Yeah.
and we're a very small market.
Yeah.
At the time, what was created was a little music community that we called Jams of Enchantment,
Yes.
which has flourished since. But this was our way to get community together, do things musically together. We got to go to some music festivals and work at the festivals as a team, and you know, also it was a way for me to bring younger people into the music scene that's been
Yeah.
so important to me for all these years. You know, so helping bands, knowing from early days, even watching somebody like a Steve Earle.
Yeah.
They didn't have a whole lot of money back in the day. They didn't get a lot. They weren't paid a lot to
Yeah.
play at an event. You know, people didn't think about how much went into that, not
Sure,
just the
sure.
practice of doing it, setting up equipment, blah, 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 you know, and maybe even having to promote it yourself. So they needed some help. And that's where this little community of Jams of Enchantment came in. We started making sure people knew about our scene and wanted to be a part of it, and wanted to come to events that were part of it. And we've had many, many over the years.
And you've been, tell us about your history in Albuquerque. How long have you been in Albuquerque, and how does that lead into, I imagine you connected with the music scene
Quick.
early on, and then how does that lead into Birdland,
Well,
or connect with it?
well, my first, music was always important, but my first rock and roll experience with the band that now is forefront to what I try to represent is the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And my first concert was on Vanderbilt campus by accident, really, in 1972, and they played right on campus for free.
Wow.
Then I saw Jerry play pedal steel for New Riders of the Purple Sage, and I was hooked. I was hooked on their music. So basically, for myself, the growth in the Birdland was, at that point, my brother and myself opened up a business called Stone Mountain, which is my name, Steinberg, translated from German is Stone Mountain. I was working in the jewelry business, so I had a pretty good salary at the time, and my brother needed something, so we opened up this store called Stone Mountain, little back of another shop, Hippie store.
And where was
This was Nashville,
this?
Tennessee.
Was Nashville. This was the first shop.
The
you
very
opened.
first shop that we, well, no, it's not the first shop because I'm old. Our very first shop was called Stone Mountain.
Oh yeah.
It was in Albany, New York
Ah.
in 1969, and it was all psychedelia. It was all about psychedelic and the era that was going on and the anti-war of Vietnam. And no, I've been around it a long time. I'm from a retail family, you know, so figuring out what I'm going to do next in business has always been kind of what's been on my mind.
I heard a rumor that when you were a child, you said you were going to have a store called Birdland.
That's
Is that true? Can you
Yeah,
confirm or deny that?
I went up to my mom when I was 4 years old, and I let her know, because I was always called the Birdman, or Jay Bird, but Birdman. And I went up to her and I told her the Birdman was going to open up a store called Birdland. Now, luckily, she was able to see it before she passed away, and she got to see the store
Bless
of
her
Birdland.
memory, and
Yes.
so wonderful she got to
Yes.
be part to
Yes.
see that happen.
Yes. So that's where it really came from. But my love for music again is that there was the song Birdland.
Yeah.
And I kind of picked it up as my theme song even before I planned to have a business, even while I had Stone Mountain.
Yeah.
It was to have the store named Birdland. And I've done so many other things. I mean, you know, with our store, we got in touch with the John Lennon Estates and dealt with a lady who was head of what was called Gallery One, and we represented at traveling shows first John Lennon's artwork.
Really?
So, I mean, from things that were signed by John, things that, of course, were stamped and signed by Yoko, but it was a series of artwork.
Yeah.
We went to different places. We went to Atlantic City and did their shows, and then my brother decided he wanted to have a gallery. They gave us permission to use the word imagine, so we had a gallery called Imagine Gallery.
Wow.
We had all musician artwork. We had John Lennon's artwork, we had Miles Davis, we had Jerry Garcia, even signed Jerry pieces.
Incredible.
Ronnie Woods from the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan. So it was all musician based.
Wow.
It
What
was,
a gallery.
It was also posters from the era.
Sure.
Of course, then my brother, he grew into 5 stores and the gallery and a restaurant, and it was too much for me.
Yeah.
So I moved to New Mexico.
Okay.
I opened up the store Birdland that was just like my store's Stone Mountain.
And this is the one on Central.
Yes, this is the one on Central. And I even brought a gallery into it. Of course, Albuquerque for that kind of product is not Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it did much better in Nashville.
Yeah.
But the chance to have it, and that's even the way that I met certain artists through it. You know,
yeah.
I got to meet, of course, Norm and Sandy Ruth, who promoted a lot of music and knew a lot of musicians. So I got to meet musicians through them. It's
Oh,
just.
and look, we're seeing a bit of your website over there.
Oh, wow. Well, that's brand spanking new. I mean, as of yesterday.
Good timing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress, but this is a way for people to see a little imagery of what Birdland is, and it's colorful, and you know, we've got varied merchandise. We're a boutique.
Beautiful.
You know, so we
Beautiful.
carry clothing, and we have tie-dyes from many different artists. We promote the use of cannabis and in its products. So yeah, that's and the Grateful Dead, of course, which is very important to me.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about the evolution of Birdland as it's evolved with the times. As you know, it started long ago, obviously, when cannabis was not taboo, but it's not like what it is today.
Right, right.
What was the experience of having the store with that theme? I don't know. You can just tell us. What
I
was that
mean,
like?
I've always been a very outspoken, and if you're telling me I can't do something, I'm looking for a way to do it.
Yeah.
With cannabis, early I learned about its medical abilities and about all the products that we could make out of hemp, and I became a semi-activist on it.
Okay.
And with my business with Birdland, I felt like, especially in a place like New Mexico that was small, it needed some kind of industries that were going to bring money to us, jobs for people, and that was working with people to try to make sure that cannabis became legal, first in a medical sense.
Yes.
I have a friend who does awards that are called the Essie Awards, and Essie was the first person to receive a cannabis medical license in the state of New Mexico. And it worked, and it brought medical cannabis to us. It brought big business to us, which not what I wanted to see with
So what was
cannabis.
that? What was like that shift for you from being a humble hippie store to suddenly in this dispensary kind of world? The goods and the bads. What was that transition?
In the world of changing times for retail, I was on Central Avenue. They were promoting or building art, that monstrosity that's in the center of Central Avenue. We used to have a beautiful tree-lined street. It was gorgeous. Nob Hill was beautiful, and people liked coming to it.
Yeah.
As soon as art came in, it became very transient.
I don't know how that happened. I still.
You can thank our mayor at the time, Barry, and his people who needed to make money doing something. So art was built. Our transit system doesn't make any money. It's become a free transit system, which is fine.
Yeah.
But we didn't need two of them. You know. So that hurt us a lot. That's when I started going, hey, medical cannabis is here. There's a few medical cannabis locations. Let me offer up a store that has an image of cannabis and the struggle to get cannabis legal. So I went to a very large cannabis company that had come into New Mexico like right about that time. And I let them put a dispensary in Birdland. It was interesting. You know, there was only 17 companies, not this 500 to 1,000 that there are now. Each one of them had their own grows, it was watched closely by the state of New Mexico. They can't do that anymore. It's out of control.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
out of control.
yeah.
And that's when I got out of it. I got out of cannabis when I realized it wasn't about prosperity for money. It was about the image of cannabis and hemp and what it can do for a state,
Yeah.
and all the products and all the things that we learn from it, to change our way of doing things.
Yeah. And did you, once you got into with the dispensary there, did you kind of miss the old store or what you had, or was it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed it. I missed it very much.
Was there any like regret, or just like, oh, these things happen? This is our.
Well, there wasn't regret because financially, the dispensary during my first 5 years was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't have made at my store, especially
Yeah.
with art and everything else, and people not wanting to really come back into the Nob Hill area.
Yeah.
But cannabis is a different story, and people were willing to
Yeah.
cross railroad tracks and rubble and anything they can
Yeah.
to get their cannabis. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's what happened. And it was very good in the beginning, and it was very medical. And as I went through it with the people that I was associated with, I started seeing things that said to me, oh, that's not right. That's not right. And such as a product coming into the business in a bag saying that it was this strain of cannabis, and it wasn't. And then they told you to put it out as that strain.
Okay, so there was the integrity was not intact, it sounds like.
They all say they have integrity. Only their employees can catch them because they have ways in the computer to make it look that way. And now there's so much bad product and so much untested product out there that what these original people did is far better than what's happening now.
Yeah.
We've got criminal activity in our cannabis arena now, and that's, state didn't think very well when they did this.
Yeah. A lot of times when big money gets involved, things can be clouded. I think that happens.
And you got a lot of that here. You got a lot of small vendors, and I hope for them, and I support them.
Yeah.
I don't support the big guys.
Yeah.
I support the little guys.
Yeah.
I want to see. That's who I wanted to see all along.
Yeah.
But when I went into it, yes, I went after somebody who had enough money to finance an operation and finance me.
Yeah.
So that's why I went into it. But I'm very glad to be
It's all
back.
part of your story. It's all part of.
Yeah.
And so now you're. tell us
Now
about
we
the
opened
store.
up our own store, our new store. We're on, instead of being in Nob Hill on Central, we're on a little street called Harvard Southeast, which is called the Bricklight District, and mostly restaurants down on the street, but it is such a quaint little area. It's tree lined. It looks like what Nob Hill used to look like.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of wonderful places to come down, and we have a 420 event that we close down the street.
So this new store on Harvard, what's some of the difference, the different experience? Is it very much like how it used to be in the old? Is that kind of like the feel of it, or is there some big differences? What's it like for you?
For me,
Yeah.
it's sanity, because
It's a peaceful place to be. It's a nice, beautiful. I mean, there's things
and
going
I've
on,
always
but it's,
been used. Pretty much most of my life, I've
Yeah.
run my own business. I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset. From opening up restaurants to opening up my own little jewelry business. So.
Let me ask you this about, as far as, because there's a gift of being able to be entrepreneurial, but something I've noticed about you is that you really have a relationship. You connect with your customers and clientele. It's not just like, here I am, and don't come behind the counter. It's like a community kind of that you create.
Well, the Grateful Dead community is a very special community too, and that's what I modeled it after. It was definitely modeled after the camaraderie, which led to conversation points, which led to getting together, which led to going to concerts. You know,
Yeah.
even to the point where, like I said, we went to music festivals and worked the music festivals
Yeah.
as a group of music-oriented people. So yeah, that was probably some of the best parts of
Yeah.
it. And you know, with the retail now, I'm now I can say semi-retired, and it's now what I want to do, to just enjoy myself, to talk to people and find out what's going on in their lives. And I get to see people that are the children who came into my store, and now they're turning their children onto my store. And you know, it's multiple generations of it. You know, we've been open 30 years now.
Incredible.
And yeah, it's kind of nice. I don't have anything that anybody particularly needs, but it's fun. And we've got a lot of color in our store. One thing people say when they come in, they just feel very welcome, and then it's just a very nice, colorful experience. And I've got music playing, and I definitely greet people and talk to them and want to know a little bit about them, you know, especially because we get travelers. I want to know where they were from and, you know, what led them to my store and things like that. So, yeah.
And so what's something, can you think of it, I don't know, a memorable experience between this location, or I'm sure there's been so many different things that have happened, but if someone asked you, what's a memorable experience or encounter? What comes to your mind?
Well, let's see. I've gotten to meet, from going to trade shows and things like that, I've gotten to meet an awful lot of people. I got a chance to meet Gene Simmons.
Wow.
At the trade shows. I mean, so many people that have been at the trade shows that you got to talk to and let them know that you were a fan of theirs or something. I've, again, not being shy, I've always wanted to be a part of something and communicate with them. You know, as with my store, I mean, one of the people that was the Grateful Dead radio hour is David Gans. Well, I got, through a friend, David Gans, to come and do an event for us, play for us. Got to be friends now for over 20 years, which also led to meeting and distributing the artwork of Michael Everett, who unfortunately has passed recently. But Michael did the artwork for the last Grateful Dead show and for the Grateful Dead show that never was, because he did the fall tour poster also. So I had all of his posters signed by him, everything. And unfortunately, when he left us, he left me with some of them too. So I've still got some memories of Michael and poster artwork from him. So yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being a part of this community with your store, but also, to me, you are as much part of the music community as all of the musicians. It's a very heartwarming and always a joy to see you at all the different shows, and it's just an inspiration to, you know, to live a life that you've done with this, creating a community and supporting community, and just bringing people together, and just showing that to support to the music that feeds your heart, and you feed the musicians.
Let's hope it feeds the rest of the people, and that this inspires them to want to go out to live music and support their local bands. And you know, it isn't all about going to the Taylor Swift show.
That's right.
We have
a treasure. We have
a
true
treasure of musicians here.
All right. Well, as are you, my friend. You are a treasure. Thank you for sitting and talking, and come check out his shop. And it's just been a joy to talk to you, and thanks for being with us today. And hope you all out there are doing what you love and supporting what you love, and we will see you next time.
Everybody's got something that nobody else has got. Everybody, you're the only one. And everybody's got something that nobody else has got. Everybody,